Some games choose a cool, fancy, stylistic art style, others go for a more realistic look. So here are 10 new games that are striving to look more like real life. We got a bunch of indie games, AAA games, AA games, a bunch of stuff to talk about. So let's get started off with number 10. Death Stranding 2 on the beach. Now, if you played the first Death Stranding, you know that game was aiming for some realistic looks. The environments, heavily inspired by Iceland, really looked gorgeous. The foliage, the mountains, the waterfalls, the rivers, the draw distance, everything looked jaw-droppingly real, and then down to a character level. Although the game was pretty minimal, you really spent the most time with Sam Porter Bridges, he looked real. I mean, he looks like the actor Norman Reedus. And it seems like they're pushing that even further this time around with Death Stranding 2 on the beach. Characters look even more expressive this time around, but also we just get a good look at the world. It seems like Sam is venturing into new regions and we're seeing cities, heavy rainstorms, thunder and lightning. We're seeing vast deserts, flooding rivers, and all of it really looks, frankly, spectacular. Granted, this is like a realism look in a game that is highly unrealistic. It's got tons of fantastical elements, more spooky ghosts. The Death Stranding event is still going on, so humanity is on the brink of extinction. Weird creatures, Troy Baker as a crazy anime ninja. It's ridiculous and absurd, of course, in a Hideo Kojima and Kojima Productions way, but visually, graphically, it's looking pretty real. The characters on screen are expressive and lifelike, and I think that's the point here with telling this strange story. We're looking forward to hearing more from this one soon. Next, over at number 9, we have Kingdom of Deliverance 2, which the original game was famous for embracing realism all around. Not just from a visual standpoint, but really from a gameplay one, focused around historical accuracy and storytelling in the medieval kingdom of Bohemia, dealing with all character stats, keeping your character fed and alive. It was highly detailed in the realism front, and they strive for that on the graphical front, but it seems like now with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, after the success of the first game, they're able to push that a little further, because what we've seen of this game so far, it looks absolutely gorgeous. Characters look less awkward and look way more realistic and lifelike. Armor is detailed, shiny, the environments are gritty, beautiful, while also a bit mundane, just like in real life. The other thing to me, just at first glance with the trailers, it seems like lighting has really gotten an overhaul here, making a big difference in just how things really look. So if they're continuing to go for realism from a gameplay standpoint, like with slow, heavy crossbows and very deliberate swordplay, to all the RPG elements that really challenge you, to now the game actually looking pretty realistic, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 could really crush it, really knock it out of the park, and make good on some of the promises of the original game. And we'll be able to check it out soon, because as of right now, it's slated for the end of 2024. Next, over at number 8, we have Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra. This one is just insane, and I'm almost still marking it up as too good to be true. Now, this was shown off as a big demonstration for Unreal Engine 5 and was touted kind of as a demonstration of the powers of this engine for building games and stuff like that, and it does come from Amy Hennig, the creator of Uncharted, so she's got the pedigree. This studio clearly has the chops here, and the concept is absolutely brilliant. It's Captain America and Black Panther in Nazi-occupied France. As a fan of the Ed Brubaker comics, this is like right up my alley, but it's also not technically the current Black Panther, it's T'Challa's grandfather. It's also going to deal with this apparently S.T.A.L.K.E.R, Hydra, and some Wakandan spies. And what we've seen here are just some frighteningly realistic looking characters. This Captain America looks more real than Chris Evans as Steve Rogers. But when Black Panther takes his helmet off and when they're speaking to one another, like, it just looks extremely real. Not to mention the environments, the environmental effects, the snow, the weather, all of it is really downright shocking. Now again, they said this is Unreal Engine 5 running real time. I really don't think the final game will look quite this good, and we don't even know totally what exactly this game is yet, but at the very least, the early looks at it like this have been extremely promising. It looks cool as hell. Next, over at number 7, we have a game called Supernatural. No, it's not based on the show that everybody loves. This is a first-person horror shooter. The two big gimmicks here is that it uses your PC's microphone to implement scares in the game, and apparently you're going to like speak to a ghost. But the other aspect is that it's pretty gorgeous, at least from the released trailer we've seen. It seems like a lot of the game is centered around solving puzzles and doing detective work in a house, and this house looks strikingly realistic. The kitchen, where a lot of this trailer was featured, looked incredible. The lighting, the atmospheric effects coming from outside, things coming through the window, all of it looks damn good. That's where it seems like the immersion and the scares are really gonna lie. They just show some other stuff that doesn't look quite as good. Once they start showing characters' faces, the realism kind of drops off, but I will say those environments are pretty stunning. To be completely honest, it's interesting to talk about, but we are skeptical of this one. We're not sure if it's going to really work out. Thankfully, it's just kind of like a small 2-hour horror detective mystery experience. It's made by one developer, so we're gonna give it a shot. Hey, either way, hope it works out, but either way, right now, Supernatural was releasing July 15th, 2024. Next, over at number 6, we have S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, Heart of Chornobyl. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 is carrying a lot of the gameplay concepts from the original game. Hardcore survival, resource management, some tense, challenging shootouts, a harsh, unforgivable world dealing with scientific anomalies out in this irradiated wasteland. But this time around, it's amping up the graphics. If you've seen any reveal trailers or gameplay trailers for S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, it looks really damn good. The foliage, the lighting, everything on display is really impressive. I got to play an early version of it and preview it for about 30-40 minutes, and while I didn't think it looked quite as good as the trailers, it's still looking pretty darn good. Nothing about it is overly flashy or heightened, it's just going for gritty realism, and that's what we really appreciate here. As of right now, S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 is releasing September 5th, 2024, and we're really looking to get our hands on it and judging the final product. Next at number 5, we have Unrecord. Now, this is that game that went viral about a year or so ago for being the Bodycam footage game. It looked strikingly realistic, developed by one solo developer. Some people expressed their doubts, but with the visual effects, the filter, the camera angle, the beautiful environments, it did really look realistic. Obviously heavily filtered because it's through like a low resolution police style body camera, but that actually helps heighten things. It makes things look more real when the environments are a little grainy, the animations a little bit more fuzzy through this filtered realistic lens, you know? Other than like visually, it's just little things that help make it look a little bit more real. The enemy characters' faces being blurred out, almost like it's kind of like a redacted footage, to shootouts being quick, loud, punchy, and chaotic, with things usually ending with just a couple of gunshots. It just seems like they're thinking about things differently with this one. As of right now, we don't know when it's releasing. It is still very much a work in progress, but it has taken the world by storm, and we've already seen other games trying to go and replicate that style, one of which we'll talk about in a little bit. Next, over at number 4, we have Project M. This was revealed at a State of Unreal showcase in 2023, and it's an ambitious project from NCSoft. It's centered around a concept where the particles or the fabric of reality are constantly shifting and changing, making for a kind of world-bending action-adventure game centered around making choices, and then the game world and adventure reflecting those choices essentially right away in real time. To me, it looks like something that amounts to like a Quantic Dream game, like a Heavy Rain, Detroit Become Human type of thing, but with a little bit of third-person shooting and walking around added in. But it's really the graphics here. The Unreal Engine 5 graphics are clearly flexing. We don't know how much of this is real and how much of this is just like a concept trailer. We did get some glimpses of what did look like shootout gameplay, and overall the game does look glitzy and glossy and flashy, but I don't know. To be frank, it fits on this list, but it's still a bit too early to tell what the deal actually is with this one. It's still only just called Project M. It is still very much a work in progress concept, so it might be a few more years until we actually hear something else from this, but it is from NCSoft, a big publisher that does have a bunch of money, so maybe they can really nail this idea, but we'll just have to wait and see. Next, down at number 3, we got something interesting, kind of different, with Instinction. In Instinction, you play as an ecologist stranded on a mysterious island near the Yucatan Peninsula, and it's an island inhabited by dinosaurs. Yep, it's a first-person dinosaur game. And you are an ecologist, like I said, but you have a gun. So this looks very much centered around survival, avoiding these dinosaurs, and treacherous ancient traps strewn about the island, and solving some ancient puzzles, too. But really here, what took us by surprise were the look of the dinosaurs. Yes, we could say they're realistic, even though we don't really totally know what they look like. Of course, we've never seen dinosaurs in real life in front of our eyes, but they look good, but it's really the environments, the lush jungles and foliage and atmosphere atmospheric effects here really seem to be nailing it. It could really heighten a project that otherwise would feel a little bit silly, a little amateur. We've seen game concepts like this before, but never one that quite looks this good and realistic graphically. Now, it is a little too early to tell what exactly is the deal with this one, but we're keeping our eye on it. It was supposed to hit early access in 2023, but as of right now, no early access yet. It's still just slated as coming soon. Now down at number 2, we have Bodycam. This is like the game I mentioned earlier, Unrecord, which is centered around first-person shooter gameplay, but under the guise of it appearing as though it's from the lens of like a police-mounted body cam. This game, Bodycam, took that concept and ran with it, releasing in early access in June. We're still counting it on this list because it's still technically a work in progress, but as of right now, it released to mostly positive, and it doesn't look as quite graphically realistic as Unrecord. It's still got a lot going on. It's got the blurred faces, it's got the realistic environments, good sound effects, impressive lighting, grainy footage that just looks real. It seems like people are enjoying it so far. It's still, like I said, an early access, work in progress first-person shooter, so with that, there are definitely some things that can be added, some things that can be tweaked, and of course, more content, more maps, more modes, but visually, it seems like they've already nailed it pretty well. Bodycam does look pretty real. It's actually kind of creepy. Now down at number 1, I'm sorry, we're going with an obvious one, but it's Grand Theft Auto 6. As of right now, we've got one trailer to go on with GTA 6. Rockstar graced our eyes with this first look at the game, centered around the fictional Vice City and surrounding fake Florida. What they have going here does look absolutely gorgeous and pretty realistic. It's got a heightened style, yes, but a lot of it comes down to the environments, the world design that just looks strikingly real, the detail of the convenience store that the characters rob, some of the emotions expressed on their faces in the cutscenes, the beaches filled with a staggering amount of NPCs, pedestrians milling about, the traffic, the long bridges across beautiful, bright waters. It sure as hell looks convincing to me. It reminds me of Florida. So again, while we haven't seen too much of this one yet, I think it's a safe bet. If it looks anything like Red Dead Redemption 2 graphically, I don't think people are prepared for Grand Theft Auto 6. This game is gonna look real as hell, but the bottom line is how fun it is. We hope it's fun. But hey, along with that, we got a bonus one I wanted to mention called Project LLL. This actually flew under my radar when this trailer dropped a year ago. It is a gameplay trailer, and this is a massively multiplayer online third-person shooter, looking kind of like a sci-fi version of The Division. And this thing is absolutely gorgeous. The visuals, the particle effects, the lighting, the detailed environments, all of this looks absolutely crazy. I would say almost too good to be true. We've been fooled before. I still think of The Day Before and how that looked really cool, and then it ended up being a total scam, but this one is being developed and published by NCSoft, of course, a big publisher that has a bunch of money. I mentioned that earlier in this video. So we're keeping an eye on this one as well. As of right now, it's just called Project LLL, and we're hoping we hear more soon. But like I said, those are 10 games going for realistic graphics. In one way or another, some we still have skepticism of, some we don't. There's a lot to talk about, so let us know in the comments some of your picks, but also your opinions on these games. Now, if you like what we do here, we talk about games every day. Clicking the like button's all you gotta do. It really helps us out. And if you're new, consider subscribing, maybe hitting that notification bell, because we put out videos every